觉得这就是功德吧。现在他终于离他的梦想越来越近了。这几年我们这样支持他，也总算是有回报。好了，声音到这就可以释放。所以美心人呢？美心，美心在哪？美心在哪？美心在哪
February of 2019, a company called Red Candle Games released Devotion, a game that I saw a lot on Twitch. Didn't think too much of it at the time until I saw one streamer get a lot of attention for playing it. We aren't talking about a giant streamer who's used to 100 or even 1,000 views at a time, but one of the hashtag small streamers. Elder Taco, a variety streamer who at most hit 62 viewers during a Magic the Gathering stream, suddenly hit a max of 144. Again, that isn't super crazy numbers, but it was shocking considering the game, the streamer, and the time slot he would stream in. Things started to spike around 3:40 in the morning. This is when the game got my attention. Devotion wasn't Red Candle's first game. In fact, they seem to do fairly well with a game called Detention. It's a 2D atmospheric horror game set in the 1960s. After that success, they moved to a first-person horror game exploring Taiwanese culture and folklore. The team is very open about what its sources of inspiration were. Like most games of this style, the game was inspired by things like PT, Layers of Fear, and What Remains of Edith Finch. Moving through the game, you will end up dealing with puzzles and some intense horror elements. Sometimes made even worse by people using scare alerts in their stream.
What the fuck? No! No! What was that? Why?
The game is set in the 1980s, an interesting time period for Taiwan. Just a year prior, 1979, saw police killing protesters who were there to promote democracy, and then imprisoning many more drew the attention of the international audience. By the end of the decade, the Democratic Progressive Party was allowed to form, and was able to participate in elections. Times were turbulent for the people of Taiwan, and that is present in the game. The province is going through some growing pains, being called one of the 4 Asian tigers. Several countries that were going through expansive industrialization. The developers not only wanted to show the tension of what it was like for people living back then, but show some of the folklore that most of us haven't ever experienced before. Taiwan is not known as a normal setting for a game. The worst thing for gaming preservation happened. The game was pulled from Steam. The ability to sell the game was taken away from Red Candle. When they were asked about what was going on, they responded by saying they were reviewing their game material once again, making sure no other unintended materials was inserted in, and was saying that it was needed to do some QA for the game. This turns out to be the nicest way of saying that they were being censored. Within days of the release of the game, players saw a talisman on the wall. It was that talisman that created the whole controversy. When translated, it says, Xi Jinping, Winnie the Pooh. Comparing Jinping to the bear, a meme that started in 2013 has led to a lot of issues in China. As weird as it may sound, the Disney character is now banned in the country. The Christopher Robin movie, and now Winnie the Pooh, is a symbol of the Chinese resistance. The reference to the character put the game company in bad light when it came to China. It said that the game was review bombed by Chinese gamers who were upset at the reference, but considering the amount of censorship around the country, I personally find it hard to believe. The publishers decided to cut ties with Red Candle. China revoked the license for one of them, named IndieVent. As you can imagine, this killed most of the momentum the game was having. Before it was review bombed, it had favorable reviews. On Metacritic, the game holds an 86%, and many of the reviews praising it. After delivering the cult hit Detention, Taiwanese developer Red Candle Games presents its next psychological horror adventure, Devotion. While making the jump from 2D to 3D, the superb presentation and storytelling remains intact. In 1980s, Taiwanese Kondo is faithfully recreated in 3D to the extent you can almost detect the odor. And while bringing together various art styles in one game, Devotion manages to tell a consistent story as well. IGN Japan. Despite the controversy, Devotion is a gem in the horror landscape that we hope will be available again soon. Red Candle Games craft a masterpiece in which the quality experience like PT and Layer of Fear resonates. Eurogamer, Italy. Devotion is a fantastic psychological horror game that's short, concise, and well-paced from start to finish. It's a tightly woven story about a Taiwanese family succumbing to mental anguish and slowly breaking down over the course of its 3-hour runtime. It's not always the most exciting game to play, specifically when it becomes more of a scavenger hunt adventure, but the highs are extremely high and far more frequent than the occasional lows. IGN. 3 reviews, 3 regions represented in those reviews. Sadly, kind words wouldn't stop the blow Red Candle would continue to receive. They were able to do a pre-order for the physical release of the game, but it was unavailable to be done globally. It was announced that GOG.com, or Good Old Games, was willing to put the game in its storefront, something it seemed that Steam wasn't able to do. The game was supposed to be released on the platform, one owned by CD Projekt Red. That name should sound familiar, the developers of the Witcher series and Cyberpunk 2077. The latter game was something of an eyesore for the company, one only made worse by the follow-up. The treatment of its employees and GOG's apparent Twitter issues. As I was unable to find the tweets that were apparently causing the issues, I can't trust articles saying what they were, and the speculation isn't something I want to do too much in these videos. But when they decided to cancel the release of Devotion on the storefront, it seemed that all was lost for the game, and the company's future looked dim at best. March of 2021, 2 years after the game was first released and then pulled. Red Candle Games announced that they would be selling the game on their own website. It's not the only offering there, though. They've begun to sell Devotion DRM free, as well as Detention, their previous game, which is also DRM free. The soundtracks and the bundles are also available.